What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So I know in the last video probably was when we got back from shooting over to Bull Gap, got the X3 like kind of halfway washed. It's not perfect, but at least it's not covered in mud. In today's video though, Auxbeam actually sent us out some products to install, kind of do an unboxing video on and a review. And Auxbeam, which I ran a lot of their products in the past, the 50-inch curved light bar that is on the X3 is actually an Auxbeam one. I have a 50-inch on my Jeep on the Rubicon. I ran their pods in the past on that first razor I bought, the cheapest razor I could find on Craigslist, if you guys watched that video. We actually have the Auxbeam switch pod in here right now. So I've ran their products in the past. They usually give you like an Auxbeam sticker, which I think I have some of them tucked up in here somewhere. All right, here's one. A couple of them in there, but yeah, they're a company that makes LED stuff. The reason why I tried out their light bar on the Rubicon was because they did like torture test videos, kind of like Rigid Industries did when I first got the light bar and the pods and stuff on the Rubicon back, I don't know, 9 years ago or whatever. Rigid Industry was kind of like the top tier LED light company. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on the light bar. I didn't even know if I was going to like the light bar. I just kind of like the looks of it. So I did some research, bought Auxbeam stuff off Amazon, and no issues, no moisture in it, sat outside for a long time. All the LEDs still work, so I figured I'd give them a chance and start using some more and more of their products, which I haven't had any issues with yet. So what they did was they ended up sending me out some, I believe these are 3-foot LED whips. I did open this one up to see what comes in the box. And then I got 2 of them. I did have to order some brackets, which are in the house, which I'll go grab here in a little bit, so I can mount them to the, I don't know what you'd call this, C-pillar maybe, in the back, so they're kind of angled backwards. And then they did send me out some rock lights. So this is the controller for rock lights, and then these are all individual rock lights, and then a little Auxbeam flag. Before we start diving into installing this stuff, if you guys remember from the last video, I said that the X-Brite chase bar was flickering. Well, I did find out what the issue was. I don't know if you can see this, but the ground cable, probably can't see this at all, but my temporary setup for the switch pod, which is going to be mounted up in here eventually, the ground just kind of, the end came off it, so I just got to fix that ground and the chase bar should be good to go again. So these are the brackets that I went with. They're actually the same brackets that I got holding on the X-Brite chase bar. I did have to drill out the center circle because it wasn't quite big enough. So I don't know, keep that in mind. I will have these probably linked down below in the description. Just know you'll have to drill them out if you get these exact same whips. I did go ahead, put this on. Everything's not super tightened up. There is a quick disconnect on here, kind of like an air compressor disconnect. Not sure if I mentioned that or not, but I got it fed through. Wire comes down here, goes underneath this piece of plastic. And then right now I just have it running down here, and then some just temporary wiring. I just want to try one out to make sure that they kicked on. So that goes to the fuse block for the Auxbeam switch pod. So then if I go over here, press the button, I went with the second button on, or the second fuse on there, so 20 amps. If I press this one here, the whip actually kicks on, as you can see. And then I did fix the ground for the chase bar. As you can see, chase bar is now working again. So what I'm gonna do now, after I shut this off, is I'm going to do everything that I had to do on this side, which I ended up not using any of these rubber spacers. They come with some 3M double-sided foam. That's all that I needed for the size of the roll bar to put that clamp on. And then, so like this Johnny here is going to be too big to fit in the garage, which the X3 will majority of the time be parked in the barn anyhow, so it's not really going to be that big of an issue. But if I want to pull it in here, I just pop that little clip off, which I'm not going to do because it's kind of difficult with one hand, and then I can just actually pull the whips off and just lay them down in here if I need to, or I can just completely take them out because there is a quick disconnect on here. As you can see, it's not really focusing, but what I'm going to do is put the foam inside the little brackets, mount that one up, get the whip on, run the wiring all the way through, and then what I'm going to do, as you've seen here, you can see it hanging out, I got a positive and a negative. I'm just going to tie both of them into these and then just have one wire essentially going to the ground, one going to the fuse block, and then they'll just be tied on the same loop. So if I unplug it from there, they'll both be unplugged, but shouldn't be an issue. I'm gonna go ahead and install the other whip over on the other side, and then once I got them wired back up, what I'll probably do is download the app and kind of go through the features on that and see how the app actually works. So I got the other one on. Everything like the other side is kind of just temporarily wired up. Should probably mention I did put Loctite on, just some blue Loctite on these Allen screws here, and then on the actual thread for the bottom of this, and then put the nut on. Just a kind of peace of mind thing. And then what I did just to make sure everything was working good, the piece of paper that comes with all this, I just scanned this QR code. I have an iPhone, so it just popped up on the App Store, asked me if I want to download the app. Hit yes. Once it was all done, it kind of just brought up, let me go in here so you can see it a little bit better. It kind of just brought up the actual app and then asked if it could use Bluetooth. I hit yes, and then it went ahead and paired everything up for me. As you can see, I got the two whips on there, and then you can go through and manually change the colors on everything. I mean, you can put it on white, you can put it on green, blue, but then you can go down at the bottom where it says mode, and you can kind of just run it through and do whatever you want. So this is changing it, so then you can do this little lever will go through the different modes here. Brightness obviously makes it more bright, more dim. As you can see, it kind of just made it a lot more dim. So then let's crank it back up, now it's brighter. And then speed, you can either slow it down or speed it all up. So now it's switching a lot faster. But yeah, the app seems pretty basic, but so far seems to be working good. Like I said, it's just kind of all temporary right now. I'll go through and snug everything up, run the wires a little bit better. But what I'm going to do now is jump into the rock lights, which I should probably look at the instructions on this thing. Yeah, so you can piggyback them all off of each other. Positive and negative that goes to the battery. And then it looks like it has another QR code. I wonder if it'll use the same app or if it's going to be a different one. So I'll go ahead and start putting these on. I'm probably going to have to just get some small screws and self-tap them in. It doesn't look like it comes with little ones. It's got these big Johnnies here, which I don't really want to use. I'd rather just use some small screws. But I'll go ahead and start laying them out, get them figured out, and then flip the camera back on. All right, so I'm officially done. Got the whips and the rock lights on. Even put my little sticker on the switch pod. As you see, it just says whip. Bam, now they're on. Just got them set to red. I didn't do a whole lot of footage putting the rock lights in, but I got one up in there. I put one underneath. I don't know if you see it up in there. It's kind of, I'm outside, so you can't really tell that great, but went around the whole thing and put them around it. And then I got some down in here on the back. All I ended up using was just 3M double-sided tape. I just kind of ran it through the whole thing and then stuck them together. I did notice, which was cool, these ones on this side, so I could just only have to run through one time. The other ones, I don't know if this is gonna focus, have a wire that comes out here, so you can kind of pass through and keep it going like a consecutive loop. This one ends, there's nothing coming out there. Same for the front driver's corner, so them ones will be your back, and then it zigs up and then ends up on the driver's corner, which is pretty cool. They do have like a nice metal housing and stuff to them, which they feel pretty sturdy. Only a couple complaints. The leads, which they do put like your wiring in like a rubber casing to kind of protect it. I wish they would leave the leads, like the end of the wires, like where it splits off outside of the casing, a little bit longer so you can work with them. I end up having to cut that little rubber casing around it, which, I mean, whatever, you gotta do it. That's my only really complaint. Oh, and then other complaint would be, I did use the QR code for the app for the rock lights, and it's a completely different app. It looks pretty much identical to the one for the whips. So it would be cool if you could control all of them off one app. I don't know if you can. I'll probably reach out to Auxbeam and see if you can kind of sync them all up to use one app, so that way you don't have two separate apps. But both apps function the same way, so if you know how to use one, they're very easy. You'll figure the other one out. Same thing, QR code, downloaded it, asked it to use Bluetooth, and then it went ahead and found the rock lights, the controller on its own. As for the wiring, I went ahead and just 3M taped the one controller for the one whip there. The other one's over on the other side. I don't know if you can see it back up in there. The other one's over there. And then, like I said, once I get my radio and everything up in here, all my wiring, like my fuse block for the Auxbeam switch panel, all that stuff's gonna go up in there. So I just temporarily zip tied it back down because I ended up cutting all the zip ties to wire everything up. And then the rock light controller, I just have zip tied down there as well. But yeah, they look pretty sweet. I'll probably put it towards the front of the video, but I'm gonna pull it into the pole barn and shut the door and get some footage of that to kind of get the full effect of it, because with it being daylight out, you can't really see the rock lights too well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. It helps out the channel a lot. It's completely free to you. If you guys are in side-by-sides X3s, because this is what I have, go ahead and subscribe. There'll be a lot more side-by-side content to come. But yeah, until next time, guys, I'm out.